Manchester is blue as a Foden-inspired City puts Manchester United to the sword. Elsewhere, Darwin Núñez and Paul Tierney cause Forest to lose their heads and potentially their Premier League status. Spurs come from behind yet again while Chelsea slide into the bottom half. And a big apology to Ollie Watkins from me, potentially. We'll see how much time we have. All of that and more on today's episode of From the Backseat. I'll line up today. So me, host Jack, Villa correspondent Dan. Hello, Dan.
Hi, Jack. Hi, Joe.
And Joe, Chelsea correspondent. He's always here when there's Chelsea misery, and there's always Chelsea misery. So he's always here. Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Hi, guys. Dan sort of gave it away a little bit there, but yeah,
I did a
good
little
to be
spoiler,
here.
didn't I? Sorry, man.
Little spoiler check. Wait
It's
till you
okay.
get some good opinions tonight from the Chelsea correspondent.
Yes. And you can expect a lot of that in part 2, listener. So please do stay, as Joe will go on a big rant about Chelsea and whether
fuck off,
Poch
thanks.
stays or goes. So yeah, we'll turn him off. We'll come back to Joe later. But first up, Manchester Derby, Manchester City 3, Manchester United 1. A tale of two Mancunians, and they scored wonder goals in the Manchester Derby, both of the academy products. My favourite stat of the whole game, 27 shots for Manchester City, 26% possession for Manchester United. It's irrelevant, it's pointless, but it's quite hilarious because it does illustrate how dominant Manchester City were generally. I suppose the best place to start really is Marcus Rashford scoring an absolute screamer after putting in his pre-match player notes that he feels like he's being unfairly criticised generally and that people shouldn't question his professionalism and desire to be at Manchester United. And I don't know if you guys saw the clips that I saw, but the microphones around the stadium caught his screams when he scored the goal, like very clearly. And it wasn't a good scream. It was a proper weird scream. A bit like there's like a viral video of Suarez where he scores and he's screaming like so high pitched, like R2D2.
Yeah.
And it's quite special. So it's one of them. But I'm happy for him because Marcus Rashford fed the kids in COVID and he's a good person, a better person than us. But he's also played 26 games this season and scored 6 goals and got 2 assists. And after his wonder goal, didn't do much. Actually didn't play very well.
They
So
lost.
they did
lost.
lose.
Like, at the end of the day, they lost. I know Marcus is coming out giving it the big one, but I mean, he scored a great goal, yeah, and they lost the game. They lost the Manchester Derby. They had 26% possession, and Marcus Rashford went out on a booze cruise in Belfast with his mates when he should have been in training. So, I mean, he can say all he likes about being unfairly judged, but any player there's one thing doing it. I'm sure a lot of the old players in the past used to go out boozing on a weeknight, but there's another thing getting caught. It's number one. And also not turning up to fulfill your responsibilities. I'm sure all of us in this call have been on a little trip down the old Swanee, down the pub, when we've had work the next day and maybe sunk a few too many pints than we should do.
I categorically refute that accusation. For anyone listening who knows me in a working capacity, I have never gone out drinking on a weekday.
Yes, very professional is our Jack. But for all of the rest of us heathens, we may have done this before. But you always show up to work the next day, right? And you always
100%.
put in a good shift. And that's the bottom line. So I think Marcus, as you say, he's done really good things for charity during COVID. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at judging him purely on, firstly, his footballing ability, the effort that he puts in, and the games won, I mean, he hasn't really got a leg to stand on.
I'm afraid I can't come to his defence either. I want to point out like his effort that you said, Joe. Like I've watched them recently, and just when he's not got the ball, like his desire to win it back, like his press is just nowhere near any kind of intensity that I would like expect from like one of my players on my team. Also, I've seen him and he's often like offside, and just his body language. He's clearly just not happy. Like there must be. I feel like being at United is not a happy place, like generally. But then there's obviously stuff like potentially off pitch. And yeah, you have to give credit. Like that goal was like fantastic. A lot of anger in that strike as well. A bit reminiscent of like when Rooney just battered that ball against Newcastle with that volley. But yeah, in the game he had like a couple of chances. He had an air shot, and then he had that kind of missed control when he was through, but probably would have got chased down by Kyle Walker. But yeah, I feel like the kind of criticism of him is fair. He's just not, his work rate is just nowhere near the level it should be.
Do you think it's his fitness, or do you think it's his work rate? Because if the boy had bundles of talent, still has bundles of talent. He's got the right athletic profile to be a top class player. He's got the abilities to be a top class player, but there's something around his consistency which could be due to his inability to run. Is that a fitness problem? Is this an effort problem, an attitude problem? I'm not sure.
He is rumoured to be carrying an injury this season, like a minor injury that he probably should have got surgery on. I would say, simplistically, there's a problem in Manchester United giving big contracts to people who don't really deserve them. And then those people just naturally lose that fire and that motivation to perform and give 100%. Because, like, if I was getting paid 500k a year, I probably wouldn't work as hard, especially if it was guaranteed. Let's be absolutely honest. The whole reason people grind is because like they want to get more stuff, they want to earn more money, they want to be more successful. If you feel like you made it, you just lose that edge. I reckon he's on 350k a week, give or take. That's Mo Salah money, and the numbers are very far from Mo Salah numbers. So I just think the more money you earn, the more susceptible you are to criticism, is the reality. And I do think sometimes he gets a bad ride because in England, most of the newspapers are Tory donor, conservative, right-wing publications, and he's definitely a feed the children left person. So I do think they dislike him as a... Oh, okay, I'm going to go for it. As a black person, I think they dislike a black person doing good. Same as Sterling, generally. But in a footballing capacity, he doesn't do a lot defensively. He doesn't work that hard, and his numbers are a bit shit. So you can attack him professionally, but maybe not his character. I feel like that's where the line gets a bit blurred generally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree on that, and I think just taking out the kind of racist overtones of the British media like aside, I think one thing to be probably like come to his defence on is the possession stats. You said 26% possession in the Man City game. If you've not got the ball, like which United often don't, it's very tiring just like chasing like defenders around the pitch. And so yeah, he's probably trying to conserve his energy for like sprints and like to be more impactful when United have the ball. So perhaps that's a factor as well. But yeah, work rate is the key thing for him.
I don't know, if you're looking at the Manchester United of old under Sir Alex Ferguson, you had players like Park Ji-sung. You would never, it doesn't matter if he's getting passed around the field. He would run and run and run and run until he needed to be subbed off. I mean, that's another thing. You're talking about energy levels. If I was a football player playing for Man United with the badge, with the club, with the prestige that comes with it, however many millions of viewers watching you every single week and supporting you, you would run until you had nothing left and they had to sub you off for another player. They have players on the bench. Just put the effort in. Use your legs. If he's injured, he's injured. But, I don't think they can... I don't think he really has a leg to stand on. Again, as I say, unless he's got a gammy leg because he's injured, then he definitely doesn't have a leg to stand on. So, but we're kind of digressing down the Marcus Rashford tunnel. But,
it's an interesting topic. But yeah, you're right.
I mean, this is the case of Man United whenever it comes up. It's a media machine, right? You want to talk about Man United, you don't want to talk about Man City, who actually won the game, and Foden, who has been an absolute worldie this year. I mean, look at the numbers. Crazy.
Yes, the numbers are spectacular. So he's got the same number of goals and assists as Bellingham and Saka this season, and we've spent quite a lot of time praising Bellingham this season, and then Saka more recently. And yeah, Foden's matched them pound for pound, which bodes well for England. In all of our heads, we're looking at this and we're like, yes, Saka on the right wing, Foden on the left wing, Bellingham through the middle behind Kane. What will happen will be a very stodgy, like Marcus Rashford on the left and Calvin Phillips in the middle. But we can hope. But England's prospects do look good, and Pep Guardiola said he's the best player in the Premier League right now, which is classic Pep, just chatting absolute breeze as usual. But is it so ridiculous? Because he's definitely the best attacker in City, not called Haaland now. I think he's surpassed Bernardo Silva, Doku, and is there even Grealish? He's clear of all of them now. He's like the number one inside forward winger, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, how good is he? Is he better than Saka? I don't know. They kind of play the same position. Does it matter? Probably not.
Do they? I mean, I always see Foden as more of the kind of Bernardo Silva-esque player, playing on the inside a bit more, playing in that central position, linking up the play. If you could have Saka and Foden on the same pitch, maybe with Bellingham on the other side, I mean, it sounds fantastic. But I think this season, from listening to Pep and his post-matches, Foden seems to have done a lot more in the link-ups area of his game, to be able to anticipate where the ball's going to be, but also to be able to play the passes where the other player in the City team works so well under Pep's system. But, question for you guys, did you see this happening, back in a year or two ago when he scored some of those wonder goals and showed like this is a boy with some potential? Did you guys think that he would be this player that you're seeing today?
Yeah. When he scored those goals for the England under 21s or the under 17s, I think he just stormed that championship, didn't
he? Yeah. And then when he first came into the City team, he played very well, from what I remember, bringing down balls from high up in the air and doing mazy runs and scoring some really good goals.
Yeah, I think he felt. I guess like Pep's always got a plan. Like we should never doubt Pep. But I felt like playing Foden on the left, like he just got very restricted. I would get quite frustrated with him that he maybe wouldn't be as positive or like he wouldn't take on the kind of right back if he got the ball. He'd often come back inside. So I'd love that he's like played more this season in that position, but also kind of all over the park and like quite fluidly. He's clearly unbelievable at like finding space, like receiving the ball and just I think again like his performance had everything in that match. Like even at the end, he was like running like the length of the pitch to make a tackle on the kind of in the left back position and celebrating in front of the fans. So yeah, I don't know. He was a bit part player at the end of last season, but he just seemed to use that as motivation, and he's one of the first names on the team sheet, like for City and should be for England now.
Yeah, 100%. The thing is, as well, Pep always rotates his wingers anyway. And since he got rid of Mahrez and brought in Doku, there's been a big void, Mahrez-shaped void, and now Foden's just taken control of it. Yeah,
as well.
And Goodwin, yeah, exactly. So his versatility is quite impressive, because you're right. First goal was cutting in off the left and just scoring ridiculous, like 25-yarder. And then the second one's like a underlap. He's cutting in from the right, and the second one's an underlap from the left. So it's like completely different roles. One's like Zinchenko at Arsenal, like rampaging inside from left back, and the other one's like prime Mo Salah. It's just a bit of a joke, really, isn't it, that he's this good? I don't know how old he is. He must be, like 23 now or something like that. So he's still probably got another level to go, potentially. And he's already up there with like the best players in the world. So it's all a bit disturbing.
If City are allowed to like carry on and like win titles and not get done with FFP, like he could break a lot of records, couldn't he?
But they will, Dan. We all know they will, because otherwise we'll all stop watching football. I hope. Eric Ten Hag said it was a great performance, and he was very pissed off about two incidents. There was a foul on Rashford, where Kyle Walker gently caressed him over, and then there was a pretty hefty, robust challenge from Edison on Garnacho, which I'd say, if a player on the pitch made a challenge that robust, it'd probably be a yellow card, because they're out of control, and we don't like firm challenges like that. But I think goalies are sort of allowed to do things slightly outside of the realms of everyone else. I mean, I think it's fine. He definitely got the ball, but it's just it was vicious, I thought. And I don't know. Maybe that's me, game's gone moment, where I'm just like a normal challenge and I'm like, he's got to go. Maybe my hatred of City is just too much. And I'm like, get rid of Edison ahead of next week. I don't know, that's probably it.
I would love to know your guys' opinion on something though, because I think that Eric Ten Hag is an absolute nutter. He seems to either, he's like Arsene Wenger from back in the day. Oh, I did not see it. I didn't see the fucking game. I didn't see how awfully we played. But I'd like to get the comparison though, because I think when Pochettino says that Chelsea played well, I don't argue with it that much. I'm like, yeah, they played quite well. But am I just falling under the same kind of cloak of invisibility that Ten Hag is under? That I think Chelsea played quite well. Maybe everyone else thinks we play really badly. The media seems to think we play really badly.
I'd say, in my opinion, Ten Hag generally says a load of rubbish. But in this specific game, if you go to the Etihad, you basically expect to lose. The only way to beat them is to do a classic Crystal Palace of having 2 shots. And yes,
we drew.
What's up?
We drew.
That's true. You did draw. That's true. But generally, what you need to do is low block, sit tight, hit on the break. And that's basically what they did. I'd say, if anything, Rashford's touch let them down. Garnacho's and Fernandez, passing, let them down more than anything. Because the breaks were on. They just didn't make the most of them. You have to be pretty perfect. So I feel like he set it up fine. But in other games where they play terribly and they win, he does chat a lot of shit as well. He seems to be unable to actually fix Man United. It's just like Solskjaer Mark II, really. Just a continuation.
I think it's generous for him, to him. They did exactly what you said, the low block against Villa and got away with scoring a few goals on the counter, albeit 3, to be fair. But I don't see any ambition. It must be pretty depressing being a United fan right now, and I think he's just clinging onto a couple of things in the game that just weren't right. He didn't go their way. There wasn't a foul from Walker on Rashford, and I think you just want to see more ambition. But I do get the point of playing at City. It is what it is. You do have to low block and play on the counter. It's Man United. It's fallen a long way.
Yeah, they have. But talk about ambition. Ineos, go on, Sir Jim Radcliffe. Go on, let's get in. British owner, British fans, Ineos, get those fucking Yankee doodle dandies out the club. I'm not a Man United fan, by the way. I don't believe in any of these opinions that I'm sharing. I actually think it's ridiculous. Ten Hag annoys me. Jim Radcliffe, fair play, he might do something, but I think there's so many problems in that club that you're not going to fix that just by a guy coming in with a 25% stakeholding saying that he's in charge of football operations.
The one good thing is the bar is very low. So if he just installs a normal functional backroom unit and hierarchy, he will be a genius. They'll be like, wait, is this what a sporting director does? We've been thinking about this for 10 years. They've actually been thinking about it for so long. I remember they've been thinking about it so long that they were going to get Rio Ferdinand at one point. And that seems so dumb now. It's just they just go through Man United legends and they're like, Rio? Scholesy? Giggsy? Anyone? Any of them?
What they need to do is fix the roof and they'll be legends.
Exactly. Fix Old Trafford and put a sporting director and he smashed it. He's literally smashed it already. Any more on Man United or City? Otherwise, I think we've got to move on.
Rather not. Makes me feel sick.
Love that. The only thing I'll add is that Moyes' West Ham are 2 points behind Man United. Do you know how good that would be if he pips them and puts them in the Conference League? That will warm my soul. Just Moyes there. Contract out in the summer, doesn't get renewal, but the last thing he does, maybe of his whole managerial career, is send Man United into the Conference League. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Redemption for the chosen one.
Truly. It's a proper Star Wars arc, isn't it? He was the chosen one. It turns out it just took a little bit of time to get there.
Speaking of West Ham, Moyes, they want Moyes out, don't they?
Yeah, but 2 wins, so he can't be sacked while he's winning. But as soon as he loses, the pitchforks are up again. It's just not a blessed life, really, for Moisey. He plays unfashionable football. That's where it is, though.
Wins a championship and then the pitchforks are still out. It's so funny. But,
honestly, they don't know how good they've got it. But anyway, on to the next game. Big controversy. Nottingham Forest 0, Liverpool 1. Yes, very controversial. It's nice to be on the receiving end of controversy this week, because in the Carabao Cup final, I did shout at least 100 times, "It's all a big conspiracy," as I watched that Van Dijk goal be ruled out for offside or interference, whatever that nonsense was. So it's nice. I'm chuffed. This is what Jurgen Klopp does, mate. He riles up the officials. He puts fear in their minds. He plays the mind games, and then they make stupid decisions and get brain fog in big pivotal moments. It's all part of the big game picture. But one thing I enjoyed about this game, before we get into the controversy, Liverpool forwards, Origi and Awoniyi, both on the pitch for Forest at different times, or maybe together. I didn't even know Divock Origi was at Forest. I don't remember when that happened. That's so classic Forest, to just get a recycled Premier League reject and just be like, 100k a week, come on, let's go. So I found that quite interesting. But this is a big 3 points for Liverpool, extremely large. We did not deserve it. Forest probably deserves at least a point, if not all three. But we have a very ropey, very inexperienced, very weird team with Joe Gomez playing defensive midfielder for the first 50 minutes, which does not sit well with me. He's not that, unfortunately. And so I feel like at this point, keeping clean sheets and winning and just keeping momentum moving is the only thing you've really asked for and hoped for. And we're just about doing enough. And a winner in the 99th minute feels good, feels great. When I got that notification, because I was out, I was
Darwin.
like, yes, he's done it again. The whirlwind. But it was nice to have senior players back on the pitch. I never thought I'd be so excited to see Endo back, but it just shows having a real defensive midfielder on the pitch really does make a big difference. And I do bloody love him and Darwin. So, all good. Kelleher, he's very, very good. Is there a better backup goalie in the league? I don't know, honestly, right now. But he's got 4 clean sheets in a row. Seems like Alisson's going to be out for at least a month, if not longer. So, imperious, and that makes me very happy. But on to the controversy, while Joe's gone to get pizza, listener. So, for context, we're talking... So, listener, you know how Joe's always eating on the pod? So, apparently he put in a roast chicken at 8 p.m, which, again, that's another story altogether. And so, because he's realised that that's never going to be ready in time, he's now ordered a pizza. So, he's going to be eating on the pod, not even at the end of the pod.
He's just chowing down, isn't he, right now?
Yeah, so I don't know if we'll see him again, hopefully, but it's so on brand. It's so bloody on brand. Oh, right.
I'm sure the listeners don't want to know about my eating habits.
They do. What's on your... Have you got your pizza?
Yes.
What's on your pizza?
This is a football podcast. This isn't a funny pizza podcast. It's pepperoni, olives, and some toppings.
Pepperoni would have been my prediction, actually.
Yeah.
It's solid.
Proper Chelsea, that. Proper Chelsea.
Proper Chelsea.
Right, on to the controversy.
It was controversial, wasn't it? Well, just quickly, I enjoyed Nunez's celebration. I feel like he's just come back from an injury, and then he just absolutely hammers the advertising hall.
Yeah, he literally almost falls over it twice. It's just a nutter.
I mean, look, I don't understand why it's a simple error from the referee. Why does the fourth official not just say something in his ear? But, it's the other way, mate. Surely. So. But those kind of small things, maybe Forest, they could have complained a bit, a couple of players around the ref just to explain that that's the wrong way. But still, they should have lines. I think it was Hudson-Odoi. Should have just put it all away. So they've kind of only really got themselves to blame, and cracking ball in from Alexis McAllister. I'm sure you and we're enjoying that.
It was very good. Yeah, it's very controversial because, firstly, Paul Tierney stopped play while Forest had the ball and looked quite dangerous. for either a penalty check or a head injury caused by the Liverpool goalie on Konate. And it's very unclear which one it was, but I feel like neither of them makes loads of sense. Head injury maybe, but Konate seemed
For
absolutely
Liverpool to
fine.
get the ball back.
Yeah, and then after just stopping play for an unknown reason, then just giving Liverpool the ball back to just take a goal kick is very weird. Very, very controversial. And maybe enough time had happened between that and the goal, but it's all what ifs. But yeah, pretty bad mistake from Paul Tierney. But I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Long may it continue.
This is Klopp's year, right?
Exactly. He will not be denied. I look forward to a very controversial penalty next week as we beat Man City 1-0. But Forest, their owner was on the pitch at the end. He was very unhappy. I think one of the coaching staff got sent off. And I can see why. Controversial decision. Feel like everything's going against you. And they have the backdrop of FFP and a very likely points deduction because, as far as I can work out, their only defence is that they could get more money if they missed the FFP deadline, which is pretty much an admission of guilt in my book. So I think they are in big trouble, and that's why it felt so unjust to get fucked like that after putting up such a good performance and dominating the majority of the chances. So yeah, tough for them.
Did you guys see the that Turkish game where the owner was on the pitch kicking the referee?
That was quite recently, right? That was this.
It was quite recently. Yeah,
this year. I do remember that.
Seeing Marinakis on the pitch, I'm sure the referee was probably a little bit concerned for his own safety.
Do you ever worry that the line is getting blurred between like fans and officials? Like they're starting to, because the officials are making a lot more mistakes. Do you think there's genuine risk now, like two officials at games up and down the pyramid? And it's adding to the malaise of them making bad decisions because they don't feel particularly safe or empowered to make certain decisions.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty terrible time to be a referee. Like at all levels, I'd be very worried to see the stats of kind of like referee recruitment or like people like training to be referees, because I'm sure if I asked the pair of you and myself included, I wouldn't want to be a referee.
Absolutely not. Not a chance.
Absolutely not. I'd be very much interested though to see more ex-players go into the refereeing fraternity. I think that would be
that's the key.
Or just mic them up. Like just mic them up and just expose the absolute shithousery that goes on in a match day, and then we'll be like, "Oh, yeah, it's a bit much actually." I feel quite sorry for them now, because there was a really good viral clip of there's a viral clip of like a female rugby union referee, and she was like speaking to these big boys, and she was like, "Listen, guys, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed." As a direct quote, she was like, "You told me you would keep your teams in check, and you haven't." And they were like, "Very sorry, we'll go address that now." And I was like, "That's actually so good, so funny, and so good." So it can be done.
But you know what they say about about rugby football. Rugby being the game played by gents, football not being so much played by gents. So I'm sure if you had a game or a mic up at a referee during a football game, I'm not sure that everything would be so polite and harmonious.
No, it wouldn't. It would be awful, but you got to start somewhere. You got to try and draw a line at some point. Might as well just do it now. Make it better in the next 2 years. Speaking of referees, Mark Clattenburg is a refereeing consultant for Forest, which is very weird. It's never happened before in the Premier League. I don't know if it's ever happened in football, but what I've read into it is that he can consult on referees' performances and then criticise them afterwards without the fear of getting a ban that a manager or a player might incur or a fine, because he's not actually part of Nottingham Forest team. He's just a consultant. So he's like a mouthpiece. But I'm wondering if maybe what he also does is provide insights. So he's like, right, Paul Tierney generally lets the game flow, blah, blah, blah. And he's like a situation strategist around like, can you get away with more stuff with this referee or blah, 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 blah. That's what I can gather he does. But is it smart, do you think, guys, or is it just stupid? Because we do ridicule things when they're new, like throwing coaches or nutrition or whatever, and then after a while it becomes quite normal. So maybe it's the start of something. Maybe he'll be consulting for the whole Premier League, like in a few years.
Well, top move from him.
I think
Great idea is to get a bit of pay on the side, right? But I don't know. Barcelona did the same thing for the last 20 years. They were paying ex-referees to come and help them. And there's something that's...
They were paying current referees, mate, from what I heard.
Well, that was the kind of syndicate thing, right? Referees know each other, and then even though they were paying an ex-referee, somehow that can always find its way into current referees' pockets.
I think the cynic in me would say that it's a bit of a mistake from Forest. I feel like the current referees are probably not going to take too lightly if they think Clattenburg is trying to like explain not weaknesses, but like areas in which you could potentially exploit that referee to get like more decisions in your favour. But yeah, Jack, potentially it could be another way to get like an edge in a game. I know that Gary Neville was really like pretty furious as to what Mark Clattenburg was doing, so generally trust Gino on those things.
Yeah, man of the people. He likes it traditional, doesn't he? Football. He doesn't like all of this funny business. But that's a good time to take a break, I think. And then when we're back, Brentford, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Luton, and how Vincent Kompany still has a job. So be right back. And we are back. And we are going into is this called the West London Derby? I think it's called the West London Derby. Brentford 2, Chelsea 2. Who's the biggest team in West London? It's Fulham, technically. But apart from that, this was a shootout between two, not relegation threatened teams, but teams that are struggling a bit. And yeah, Joe, how do you feel? How do you feel about Chelsea's draw away at Brentford? Because I feel like Brentford fans weren't too happy about the result, and I feel like Chelsea fans weren't very happy with the result, which tells you how they both view each other. They both think there's 3 points on the table here, and we've let 2 go.
Well, I think given that Brentford are in a relegation battle, they wanted all the points they could get. I must first say thank you, listeners, for waiting with us. I have now finished my pizza, as was a clear part of the conversation earlier. Anyone like or comment in the chat if you like pizza whilst you're doing other things?
Would you recommend the pizza for anyone in Copenhagen?
I would recommend the pizza.
Do you have a discount code you could share with listeners?
If you come to Copenhagen, shout out to Dej Pizza. It's very nice. Discount code is 123DEDGE, Joe 10. And yeah. Anyway, proper Chelsea is the name for today. Good. Yeah, it was a really frustrating game, but it wasn't one of the most frustrating games I've seen this season, which is actually quite saying something. I mean, the first half, Brentford put up very little fight. We had the first half pretty much closed down, and it was a really good performance from us. Scored the goal, could have had another. The goal I felt was proper. This is like what we want to see from now on. You know, Malo Gusto, brilliant cross. Nico Jackson getting on the end of it, using his height, some of his physicality that you don't often see.
He's great in the air, by the way.
Yeah, he's good in the air, isn't he? He's not a bad player from someone who looks like a donkey some of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the header was preceded by a chance that he really should have scored, where he ran the goalkeeper and managed to do a really, really tame effort with his left foot. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. But then it seemed like in the second half, Thomas Frank must have said something at half time that really riled the boys up, because after about 2 minutes there was a goal from their side, which was quickly followed by another goal by Johan Wissa. And I mean, if you're going to concede a goal, that's a pretty nice bicycle kick to do it. But I think the main issue with this game is that for some reason Pochettino decided that he would try and play three at the back to match up Brentford. Playing a system that matches up the opponent can work sometimes quite well if your players are genuinely feeling like they're better than the opponent, or they're fitter, or they know the system just as well. But I feel like the players that we had on the pitch didn't know the system. I felt like Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo were absolutely knackered from their third game within 9 days, and didn't really hold up the ball very well physically against quite a strong opponent. And of course, I think that our players are better than theirs, but on the day, with a bit of encouragement and a bit of motivation, anyone can beat anyone. So if the other two factors are going against you, then it's anyone's game. So I think my thoughts on this is that we shouldn't have played that system. I think that we should have tried to change up the midfield if we could have done, because Enzo and Caicedo really didn't look the part this game. And I don't know. I don't know what you guys think, but I don't feel like Pochettino is a sort of geezer who gives like really passionate, really let's go get him half-time speeches. I think he would just be a bit nice for that. So yeah, it's a bit of a sad one, but at least we got a draw. That's better than a loss.
It's better than a loss. Amen. Let's try and be positive for once about Chelsea. You do have a lot of injuries, so you have had a very disrupted season. I don't think Poch helps himself, like you said, by changing the formation and personnel almost on a game-by-game basis. I feel like a bit of consistency in both the personnel and system would be good with as few changes as possible, especially in defence. But Malo Gusto looks very, very good. And while I'm convinced that he's 26 and not 21, because he plays like a proper, fully fledged pro with 5 seasons under him, he just looks really good. He was good in this game. He always seems to play well. He always seems to contribute at both ends of the pitch. And I'm going to throw it out there. Chelsea aren't going to qualify for Europe this season, right? They probably won't qualify for Champions League next season, realistically. They look well far off it at the moment. FFP will come for you at some point, now that they've shown they've got some teeth. Is it time to cash in on Reece James, knowing that Malo Gusto is there, he's good, and Reece James has a very high price tag, and he's an academy graduate. So that is Chelsea's favourite thing to sell when they need to comply with FFP, because he didn't cost anything. And he's always broken. I know everyone loves Reece James, but if you cash in this season, this summer, I reckon you get 70 mil probably for him. His stock is still very high, and he may never play football properly.
It's a good point, Jack.
You look very concerned about this.
Well, I think we're going to have to sell. So if we're talking about sales going out, we need to make around 100 million of profit, I think, if we don't get into Europe. Ian Matson probably is getting sold for 30 odd million. Amanda Breuer maybe will get sold and we'll have a loan fee. I don't particularly want to sell him, but he doesn't look the same after his injury, so maybe that'd be another 30 million. But it seems like all in all, we're going to end up in a situation where we might have to sell Conor Gallagher. And, the boy can play football. I think he's a proper good player. So if it came, and actually Reece James, I think, might benefit from not being such a physical league where he could potentially injure himself twice a season. So I hate to say it, but would I prefer to lose Reece, who could be permanently injured, or Conor Gallagher at the end of this season if I had to have a choice? Maybe you make a good point that Reece may be a more logical choice.
Damn.
Said
first
through
time.
gritted teeth.
Yeah, first time I think Chelsea fans have conceded that reality. I don't think he will get sold, but you're right. Conor Gallagher's a captain. He seems integral. He seems to be reliable. And Reece James he only plays half the games every season since he became a senior player. So
Yeah.
Well, question for both of you guys. Like, you are Liverpool and Aston Villa fans, respectively. Would you buy Reece James?
No.
no.
Based purely on like his injury and like the number of games that he'd play. Probably similarly would avoid buying Chilwell as well at the moment, given you want a player to play like 25 games or 25 games a season at least in like all comps, and if they're not doing that, like I just don't see the value. But yeah, I agree with you on Conor Gallagher. Like he's been brilliant like recently. Obviously, like missed a couple of chances in the final. We won't go back there, Joe. But yeah, I think him and Palmer have been like really instrumental in you guys playing like a little bit better recently. I kind of wish we had played the shit Chelsea that we've kind of seen like recently. But we played a very good Chelsea in form. Yeah, interesting. Like Palmer missed a bit of a sitter as well, didn't he, in that game? He does miss.
He did.
He does miss a few chances, doesn't he?
There's a good chance that, but I just have to air out some frustrations because you might have seen me just a little bit. I just can't fucking believe that we got to the point where we're talking about selling Reece James or Conor Gallagher. Like, how the fuck have we got into this position where you're literally telling me which one of my captains do I want to sell to have to make FFP, and I'm accepting it like a fucking mug, sitting here like, yeah, okay, no problem. Yeah, take Reece James, the fucking best right back in the world if he's in good form, because we might have to sell possibly one of our other best academy graduates. It's a fucking piss take, really. I mean, Todd Bowley, scrap away all of these words from my mouth. If, your accountants can do some funny numbers and make this FFP thing work. But if we have literally been left with that choice to get rid of Connor or Reece because the owners have spent too much money on shit, then I'm fucking, oh my God. It wouldn't even be that we have to get rid of Caicedo or Enzo. It's like, just don't buy fucking Ugachukwu, don't buy Datro Fofana, don't buy like all of these players who, like, I understand you think are going to be good one day, but just don't do it. What's the point? You're fucking private equity people. Stop being private equity people. This is football. That's just fucking frustrating.
Yeah, well, thanks, mate. You gave Villa 30 million for Carney Chukwuemeka as well, so
I'm okay with Carney. He's good.
Yeah, I think it's quite good. But yeah, you're right. The amount of money that's been thrown around on just average players that were arguably worse than academy graduates anyway is pointless. You're allowed to go big and buy big players, but yeah, all of these ones people never heard of, like Disasi. No one really knows if Disasi's good or he's just average, right? He might just be Chalobah. No one really knows. And it's just, there's a load of those like regens who are just like, no one knows who they are or why they've been bought. But they are there. There is another option though, just to muddy things further, Joe. You could always sell Levi Colwill to Liverpool because we are keen.
No. No, Levi's staying. Yeah.
What else you got?
Well, we haven't got much that we can make a profit on, to be honest. So
that's fair. I feel like the Chelsea Academy always has more. The Chelsea Dungeon always has more talent. It would be a real shame if that well ever dried up. I feel like it's so reliable.
I'm just hoping that, the accountants can do some business.
It's not looking good. It's not looking good. As you said, 11th of 27 games gone. It's not looking good, bro. Can't lie. What do you think about Pochettino then? We've got a couple more minutes to talk about Chelsea. Brentford, to give Brentford a small amount of airtime, I think Brentford will be fine. They just silently do what they do. Usually, at this point in the season, Brentford have won enough games that they just cruise and don't really play well to the end of the season and just like go from 10th to 13th. They are in a bit of a pickle now, but there's just so many teams with either FFP concerns or are just rubbish below them that it's just, to me, it's inconceivable. They would go down over like Everton, Forest or Luton.
How many points were Brentford on right now?
They have 26, so they're 6 points above Luton, having played a game more. 1 point ahead of Everton, 2 points ahead of Forest, both of which may get a points deduction. So
they only need to really get like 35 or 36 points, I think, to be safe, probably. So
but my big question for Joe is Pochettino. The Chelsea fans are starting to turn, I think, on Pochettino, or just the ownership, or just everything, and they are right to. I understand it, but there's some pretty zesty language, zesty chants, which are even a bit rude for this podcast. But yeah, it's not looking like he's making big improvements generally in terms of performance. Is it just the job is very hard because of the chaos above him and around him, or is it just that maybe Spurs was the peak and since then he's just been choosing the wrong clubs? Because he didn't look great at PSG either. And it's a similar kind of chaotic leadership approach there. Lots of cash, but not a lot of sense sometimes.
Lots of questions there. But first thing I can say is I feel sorry for him for the chant yesterday, or the day before yesterday, rather. It was his birthday, so
it was his birthday.
I think it's
a bit harsh, isn't it?
Little bit harsh calling him these sort of names on his birthday. But I've got nothing against Poch. Pep said before our game the other day that he didn't believe that even he could do better than Poch with the state in which Chelsea's club is at the moment, with all of the new players coming in. So I think that's a big statement from Pep. And you always ask yourself when you get into a situation when it's you have a chance to stick or twist. And, the answer, what would be the alternative? And I don't see an alternative in the market. So just keep backing Poch.
Yeah.
Do you guys see an alternative that I'm not seeing?
Nah, well,
Don't
maybe,
say
but
David Moyes.
Nah, I'd say that the problem with Chelsea is that there's so many big jobs that are available or coming available. Barcelona, Liverpool, probably Bayern Munich. In fact, yes, Bayern Munich.
Yeah,
probably others. So you look at that and it's like those are going to take priority for a lot of like managerial talent as opposed to Chelsea at the moment because it just looks like too hard work. So it might not be the best time to be like trying to find the right manager. You might want to wait until a quieter period where people are locked in. Big clubs aren't really looking.
I would love Zizou, but he doesn't speak English and he's going to Bayern Munich. That would be like classic. It'd be fucking great if Klopp just decided to switch over to West London. That would be funny. I'd like that.
What about Jose Mourinho back for a fourth act? Is it a fourth act or a third act? Because that's what the fans want, mate. That's what they want.
They were chanting for that.
Speaking my language.
He's available. He's a phone call away.
I think Jose would sort it out for 6 months, and then I think it would go badly. So I think longer term now, Xabi Alonso will go to Liverpool. Zizou will probably go to Bayern, I think. And then what job's open? What you said?
Barcelona.
Barcelona, De Zerbi, probably. Yeah, you can put some bets on, guys, listening to the show. If you think that my choices will come in here, you think I've got the ear of, super agents worldwide, please, put your bets in. De Zerbi, and then, any prospective manager has the choice of whether they want the Chelsea job or the Brighton job. And I don't know, they're both just as attractive as each other, I'd say. Not meaning to shout down my own club. I'm sorry, Chelsea fans. I'm only taking the piss, but no, I don't know. There's no one really is on the market, right? I mean, they got that. There's that Ruben Amorim guy. He seems pretty cool from Sporting CP. But I could see exactly what's going to happen there. He will come, 30 million release clause. He'll bring Victor Gyökeres with him, the guy ex-Coventry. Dan, you'll be a fan of him. But fucking no, he'll be shit. He'll come and he'll be shit and he'll stink up the place. And 31 goals and 10 assists in Sporting's team this year. He's done fucking decent, but you can see him coming to Chelsea and just being absolutely absolutely
100%.
dog shit.
100%.
I mean,
he has got one season wonder written all over him. To go from Coventry and then suddenly at 25 have like the breakout season of your life. Like the Ian Wright story is not real anymore. People don't just suddenly stay good at like 26. He'll go Man United, I reckon, for like 80 mil and be terrible.
But do you guys agree, like with my consensus there, that there's no other manager?
Might as well stick, mate. Could be worse. Could get relegated. So
yeah, I don't think you have any choice. Like, you're right. There aren't any really elite managers, and like Jack says, there's too many higher jobs. Yeah, so poor Poch, and he doesn't seem like. I think his response, like when he had the chance, like the media was like, "I don't care," which I guess doesn't bode well.
Implies he probably does care.
He didn't say that. He said the fans will love me if I win, and so I have to start winning.
He's he's a pretty realistic guy. Actually, I do quite like him. Like he says things that are a bit like. I imagine his PR team get quite frustrated with him sometimes because he just says what he thinks. Sometimes he doesn't really.
I think he's a top player.
He doesn't filter it. Yeah. He's just
I don't think managers should ever really go to like rivals. Like Chelsea would never fully like welcome like Poch in. Like it was too like the Battle of the Bridge. Like it was too like fierce. Like that rivalry at the time. It's the same. I remember when Villa got Alex McLeish from Birmingham, and like it was just never going to happen. There would always be a portion of like the fan base who would just hate it, and you've got a bit of an uphill battle. And yeah, like Poch would have hated Chelsea at the time when he was like Tottenham manager. So yeah, the 180, isn't it? So
yeah, but we love it that he turned. Well, we love it that he's been a turncoat from Spurs. That's kind of something that Chelsea fans always enjoy when a Tottenham faithful crosses the river. It's fun.
You think?
No.
Not yet.
But Poch is a good guy. I still have my faith in him. I don't see much improvement this season, but maybe next season.
Yeah, I think at this point it's worth sticking because otherwise it's just Frank Lampard's always close to a return.
It's always in the wings, isn't he?
Capacity. He's always there, and like you want to wait at least till he's got a job, and that's not an option.
You know what though? I think can I add one thing?
Of course.
What I would love to see, and you probably back me here, Dan, is I'd love to see John Terry be one of the assistant managers, because then at least you've got someone in the dressing room who's going to give the boys a proper like bollocking if anything goes wrong. And he's a top bloke, apart from shagging people, but he's a top bloke.
Yeah, and his money like schemes. Yeah, he was a good assistant coach when he was with Reece, like, so why not? A good segue.
JT.
Yeah, JT. I think this is a good segue, Jack, into one of the best managers in the league.
Hey Ben, please take it away. Yeah, Luton 2, Aston Villa 3. Over to you, Dan. You've done it again. You march on. Top 4 is yours. Spurs are never going to catch you.
Do you think? I did see that Villa were, I think, from Opta, with like 67% likelihood to finish 4th, which I think feels generous. But,
yeah, you've got a 5-point gap now, which is good. Mm-hmm. They do have a game in hand, but, Spurs, like, they're not always going to win.
They've got some tough fixtures. I think they've got to play all the top 3. But we've got to go to Etihad and the Emirates, which is going to be a challenge. So I was like,
do it, Dan. Do it. Beat them. Just beat them. Do you know how happy I'll be if Ollie Watkins scores? I will do a special on how good Ollie Watkins is. If he takes points off City at the Etihad, I'll happily do a special.
Well, hopefully we'll do it and we'll hold on. But yeah, like, if I talk about like Unai Emery, if you watch that Luton game, it was a fantastic match. It was so entertaining. Mm-hmm. Villa pretty much dominated Luton for maybe 50, 60 minutes of the match, and then we got absolutely battered for about 25 minutes and just frankly were like holding on. They, for some reason, in that kind of second half period, they just were bombing down the wings, winning free kicks in dangerous areas. Doherty was like firing the ball in, and they were like physical, and it was frankly really uncomfortable to watch. But we managed to like somehow hold on, and Emery made 4 subs, I think, around the 70th, like 75th minute mark. Brought off Rodgers, who'd come on as a sub for Ramsey, who got injured, and he was on a yellow card, and he was also on the left wing and having to defend Kabore, who was just like was attacking really, really well. But like those subs made a difference, and then finally Diaby had a goal involvement, assist for Digne after he's not really done anything since the first like 7 or 8 games. So
really,
just
that's
Diaby.
so weird.
Diaby is his goal involvements. Yeah, his goal involvements have not been since the first 7 games.
Don't you think that's so funny? Because Joe and I both.
My perception is that he's been good. Yeah.
He's been smashing it the whole season because he had a good start. So like immediately that's just carried through.
That's interesting. I feel like there's potentially a lot of people who've just left him in their fantasy team, and he's just been doing nothing. But yeah, he's really struggled. Like frustratingly, had no confidence, and so hopefully this is a little thing that because he's been our I think he was our club record signing. But Leon Bailey has just been absolutely incredible in that time period. But yeah, like Ollie Watkins, he was incredible in that match.
Ollie Watkins was
he's good, isn't he?
It.
He's annoyingly good. You can only deny the man for so long, can't you? You can.
He had everything in that match. He was running in behind. He was holding the ball up. He scored a header. Scored that goal. Quick thinking, ball over the top. That left foot touch into that right foot strike was ridiculous. And he's just top class. Alan Shearer said he's on the plane. So
he definitely is on the plane, surely. Yeah, long-time listeners, you know that I don't really like Ollie Watkins. I think he's average, but I have to admit the evidence is too difficult to ignore, and I'd like to apologise to Ollie Watkins. He's above average. He's not average. He is above average. Maybe even good. He's got better stats than Haaland and Salah in the Premier League this season. He's got 26 goal contributions in 27 games, which is just filthy.
And he doesn't take penalties.
That's even more filthy. And I don't know if this is like the crescendo of his career, but he really is, on current form, the best striker in the Premier League right now. It's actually a joke. I don't think it's real, but you can't ignore the evidence. Stats don't lie. And if he can just do that in the Euros, when Harry Kane just goes missing and does his thing, dropping deep, playing like quarterback, maybe we'll win the Euros, and then I'll just be very, very wrong. Another terrible football opinion for me. But yeah, he's really good. And I was not familiar with his work, evidently.
I appreciate that, Jack.
It's an apology right there.
It's big of you. And like, look, I think let's hope Ollie does some business against City to even further this and maybe perhaps extend the apology. But yeah.
If he does anything against City, I will do anything. I'll say anything at that point because I just hate City so much. I just hate them so much.
Tattoo? Would you get a tattoo? Is that too far?
Probably wouldn't do that because I don't have any tattoos. It'd be really fucking difficult to explain. My one and only tattoo is just like a picture of Ollie Watkins.
What would an Ollie Watkins tattoo constitute?
I think just number 11 Watkins in there.
Just on my back.
The
exact same size, just across my shoulder blades.
Well,
we'll see. But yeah, he's good. He's very good. Leon Bailey as well. You mentioned him. 8 goals, 8 assists this season, mate. very good. He's
Yeah,
very inconsistent,
honestly,
but now he's
he,
consistent and he's
he
consistently
was
good.
incredibly inconsistent, and he was injured all the time. He would pick up a hamstring injury from just doing a sprint. And this season, he's just a completely different player. I think a lot of confidence, but if you look, he can just beat people with ease, and the way like keeps the ball and like his movement, he's just been exceptional. So yeah, I think he got a 4-year deal or something recently, which is like thoroughly deserved. So love him
Is
here,
this
Nathan.
is this something that's Unai Emery is renowned for, that he can turn like good players? Because I'm suspecting he's doing this with like Ollie Watkins. If you put Ollie Watkins in another team, he's not as good. Same with like when you take Firmino out of Liverpool or Mane out of Liverpool, they just didn't perform very well. Is Unai Emery very good at making players better and creating systems to get the best out of them simultaneously? So it's like a bit like Brighton, everyone who plays in the system looks better and they start to play better, and it's like self-fulfilling prophecy. So it seems like he's just turning everyone into good players every week. That's my impression
Yeah,
anyway.
I agree. Like, I think there's just like clarity in what you are responsible to do, like in your role in the team, and how we play. Like, it's very clear. Like, I can't speak on Bailey as much in terms of like how he plays or the position like he takes up, but the way in which like he shows for the ball, like it's very like clear, like when he comes like short to show for the ball, or like when he makes a run towards Watkins for a layoff. But yeah, from a Watkins perspective, like Emery has been very clear to him that you stay more narrow and you're a bit more selective with your pressing, because Ollie, unlike Rashford, would press all game, all the time, and then would be a bit fatigued when he'd be like through like and have a chance. So yeah, that's just been a huge difference, and I think Emery's he's just clear like, tactically and like what we're doing, and like even when we've got the ball, like the like patterns, like how we're playing, like it's very patient. Like I think there's a lot of times where we will go back to like reset, like start again. We'll go back to Martinez, we'll go back to a centre back, and then everyone's like, right, we go again, and we know like where to play. So.
Yeah, I mean, look at the taking a team off Steven Gerrard, not really making too many changes to that team and playing the football that they're playing. You know, it's a hats off to Emery, hats off to the team. You're playing out of your skin right now and deserve the top four.
He's the Don. He's
Champions
Don
League.
Emery. It's coming. Villa Park feels like a
Oh,
great place for Champions League football to return to. It feels right, you know.
it does. I will cry probably when I'm at the park and I have Champions League thing.
Oh yeah, don't blame you.
Oh,
I do not blame you.
kind of sidetracking from that, have you guys seen the announcement today, and the viewers as well, that the Champions League is going to change next season?
Yeah, I did see that. From what I
That's
understand, it's going to be like a league, but you don't play everyone. You just sort of play some of the teams, which feels quite unfair to me. And it's like the top 8 go through, and then the next, or the top 18 go through, or the top 9 or something like that. A top section automatically qualify, the rest do a playoff to qualify, and it's like a league, a mini league.
But I think it's a great way of counteracting the Super League right now, because the Super League is essentially trying the same thing, right? So the Champions League or UEFA have tried to do a bit of the same, taking the idea, making it more of a league title, at least in the group stages. I think it's better than the group stages, right? Because you're essentially getting the same setup in a group stage, that you'll play a certain number of teams. Maybe there'll be good teams and maybe there'll be bad teams, and you'll go through. Although this time you're going to be playing, instead of 4 teams where you'll play 3 of the teams twice, you're now playing more of a league setup where you're playing 8 teams and having the ability to play more games, which is a downside for the players. But I think for us as fans and people who enjoy football, it sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, sounds good to me. If it's countering the Super League, then no qualms at all with that. So.
Yeah, me too. And you're right as well. 7 different opponents, or 8 different opponents instead of the same 3 twice is quite appealing, because you will just get some proper rogue results and like funny ones. it's just more interesting as a product. Makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And as much as playing Slavia Warsaw both at home and away is interesting.
once is plenty, isn't it?
Once is enough, I think.
Slavia Warsaw. Just generic Eastern European names, just moulded. Slavia Warsaw.
Yeah. Perhaps also I mean that City won't get such a good group every year through however they're managing that, doing that every year. But
yes,
super interesting for Villa. You'll have a lot more teams, a lot more European exposure, a lot more games in the Champions League, 8 games instead of 6. So if not saying you're going to get knocked out of the group stages, mate, I'm sure you guys will smash it. Unai is a cup.
They will. They will. But they will cause some serious upsets.
Well, we've got Ajax in the conference, so we're playing Ajax on Thursday.
That's a fun game.
I'm quite happy we got a big draw. To be honest, we can hopefully make a bit of a statement win. But yeah, Ajax are like 5th in the Dutch league, and they've got a legless and playing in the middle. So.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we're running over time, but did you guys see the meme of Henderson like chasing down a goal kick and then celebrating the throw in and shouting like "come on" with proper vigour? It's just like he's been reduced to like a caricature of himself now, where he's closed down nothing and he's trying to G up the fans. You'll be fine. You're going to smash them. They're just pretty rubbish now. But anyway, I think that's enough.
Game I'm looking forward to, just to...
Oh.
Okay, all right. No,
okay, go on. No.
Thank you, listeners. I will say one sentence. I am looking forward to Brighton versus Roma. That should be a good game. And thank you, listeners, for listening. That was great. I hope you're also looking forward to Brighton versus Roma. We've called time. So please, put in your comments what you think the score will be. Brighton, Roma. Interact with our pod. We love a bit of interaction. We're on the pod 24/7. So, or at least some of our members are. So we'll respond to all of your comments. Yes, thank you for listening.
Boom. And if you want a discount code for Dedge's Pizza, DM Joe directly and he will sort you out. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.